Module 9F, line 188, special assessments. At closing, seller shall pay 1, the full amount of liens imposed by a public body, in parentheses, public body does not include a condominium or homeowners association, that are certified, confirmed, and ratified before closing, and 2, the amount of the public body's most recent estimate or assessment for an improvement which is substantially complete as of effective date, but that has not resulted in a lien being imposed on the property before closing. Buyer shall pay all other assessments. If special assessments may be paid in installments, check one of the below. A, seller shall pay installments due prior to closing, and buyer shall pay installments due after closing. Installments prepaid or due for the year of closing shall be prorated. Or B, seller shall pay in full prior to or at the time of closing any assessments allowed by the public body to be prepaid. For any assessments which the public body does not allow prepayment, option A shall be deemed selected for such assessments. If neither box is checked, then option A shall be deemed selected. This paragraph 9F shall not apply to a special benefit tax lien imposed by a community development district, CDD, pursuant to Chapter 190 FS, or special assessment imposed by a special district pursuant to Chapter 189 FS, which lien or assessment shall be prorated pursuant to Standard K.
So getting through this is super important. I've seen so many deals get hung up and negotiations get hung up specifically on this, and sometimes it doesn't even apply. So people misread this, although it's explicitly written. This does not apply to condominium associations or homeowners associations. There's a whole separate rider where we'll talk about how those installments for assessments are going to get paid. It's not done in the body of this contract. And really this is only relevant for special assessments issued by municipals, by public bodies. So if the neighborhood that you live in, so if it's not under an association and you live in a unincorporated Miami-Dade, for example, and they are going to issue an assessment for repaving the roads on your street. There's going to be an assessment. It'll probably be on your tax bill, so we'll be able to see it, be notified of it. If it has to be paid in full, then the seller has to pay for it. It's very clear. But if it can be paid in installments and the work is not totally complete, if the work is not complete and there hasn't been a lien, and it can be paid in installments, then you get to select whether you want the seller to just pay it off in full or if you want the buyer to take on those installments after closing. So the seller will make current and become current as of the closing date, and then the buyer would take those on. So don't get hung up on this. It's pretty easy to tell whether there's going to be a special assessment by a public body. You can call the county, you can look on your property appraiser's website, on your tax bill, and get a good understanding of whether this is even applicable, so that you just don't get hung up on it, because a lot of the time it doesn't.
And also, I mean, when you read on line 194, as far as the option, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you're buying a property that the seller shall pay installments due prior to closing, and then once the buyer takes possession of the property, they should pay installments due after closing.
Yeah, I think that is the most fair split. Correct. If we're talking reasonable, especially if you look further up, it states that if the work was already rendered and complete as of the effective date of the contract, then the seller has to pay it.
Correct. Then it's been passed, exactly. But if it's something to be done in the future
really
that the
buyer
is going to get the benefit of, then that's the better way to maybe position the contract.
I couldn't agree more.